Welcome to the Black and Gold podcast. For this special episode, Henry in the hot seat. We've been waiting for a while to get a board member in to our studio to ask your questions, the fans' questions, and we've got him here tonight, so we're absolutely delighted to get him. Pedro, you'll be looking forward to this one?
I've got my forward-looking glasses on. It's like a mirror looking at it. Absolutely. I think, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we were trying to get, or we were always aiming to try and get Chunky on Henry, newly re-elected back onto the board,
yep,
or co-opted onto the board, and I think it's a good opportunity because Henry's seen all sides of the club, whether it's the supporters, whether it's being on the board, whether it's being part of the actual playing staff at some points. I think he's got a good dynamic of how he sees the club. And I think this is one that a lot of fans, certainly our fans on the podcast, have wanted as well. When I've been to games recently, it's about getting a board member on and they're asking me a lot of questions that I don't know the answer to. I've got my own opinion on things, but I don't have the answer to. So I think they have been looking for that sort of conversation with a board member just to try and get their questions over. And this is going to be a little bit different spin to our normal podcast, a bit of a Q&A, isn't it? Yes, aye. More that sort of route we're going down, isn't it?
So we've had quite a good response, a number of questions in,
aye, which
is great because it means that people are interested in the club, and that's what we want. We want to generate interest in the club. We want more fans to come, be involved in the club, help the club, whether it's coming and helping, volunteer, financially, whatever. But this is what it's all about, is creating that interest in the club.
Absolutely. And open it up to the wider audience and saying, look, there's nothing to hide. This is what the club's about. Let's just crack on from there. So let's crack on, and as you've led me seamlessly into that. Brilliant. So I'm delighted to welcome this man to the Black and Gold podcast today, a man who has held near 50-year-long association with Annan Athletic. He first started supporting the club in 1977, and after watching playing Annan play Stranraer in the Scottish Cup, he grew aspirations to help the club back into senior leagues. He joined the club's committee and then went on to become chairman. And in 2008, alongside the rest of the committee at the time, he helped guide Annan Athletic into the Scottish Football League. Welcome to the Black and Gold podcast, Henry McClelland.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Just a wee correction there.
Go on then.
That game in 1977, I never saw it.
Did you not?
I was selling the pies.
There you go, helping the club.
Yeah, I never saw the game, and I think if I remember rightly, way back then it was over £100 of pie sales that day, which was
good going.
About 1,000 now, but no, but that was back then. Yeah.
Just Scotch pies back then.
Oh, they were Francis's pies. Just the original Francis's pies, and we've been Francis's pies ever since.
Great. Good wee story to start with that.
There we go.
Henry, thanks again for joining. We really do appreciate it. Me and Pete, as I say, we've spoke about this for a wee bit of time, trying to get a board member on, but certainly yourself, since you've joined the board as well, a good character around the club, a face that everyone knows. So we've called it Henry in the hot seat, which we're quite excited about. Firstly, are you a fan of the podcast? We ask everyone this.
Oh yeah, I know you asked that question. Yeah, I am.
Oh look, here, Henry. If you're not going to tell the truth from the fucking start,
no, I'll tell the truth.
Just say it all.
I will admit I haven't seen every podcast, but I do try and catch them. I work away in Edinburgh through the week, so my time's quite limited.
You were certainly at the live show because you played a big part in that when he was up.
I loved the live show. It was brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. Maybe raise funds for the club the next time.
Here we go. Pressure's on, Pedro. Sell out. No, it's great. It's good that again the board members are listening to, or certainly yourself have listened to the podcast, because we do try and bring it. It's all about Annan, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of faces and good memories that you'll have from a lot of the guys that we've had on.
Yeah, you sit watching, smiling, especially with Jardy. Jardy as captain when I was chairman. And Harry Kearney, even Swings. I remember when we signed Swings. So you've got all that, and you just sit with a stupid grin on your face, and it's great.
Nice to know you've been part of it, and obviously you brought a lot of them to the club.
And no matter whatever happens, that can never be taken away from you. And everybody that's always part of the club, they're all volunteers. We've all been volunteers, but gosh, there's been some terrific folk over the years that have done their bit, and it feels good at times just to look back and think, yeah, I was part of that, and gosh, here I am again, part of it again.
Great long journey though, isn't it? It's great when you, even like the live show, when we were doing the live show and I was trolling through loads of footage and photos and trying to find stuff for the content. It's great to watch back. I always reflect back to the Inverness away game, because I can remember being at it, and it was such a big occasion for the club at that time, massive occasion when obviously they scored that goal. It's incredible seeing Noggin's goal, and it just brings back a lot of great memories and good people who were at the club and have been at the club throughout the years and are still at the club. So
there's a lot of people that had big parts to play, and they tend to get forgotten about, and maybe that's something that we have to address going forward as well. Can you just mentioned there with your involvement, even like your dad set up the soccer school, and that was 10, 12 years, whatever he was involved, and I think probably at times we take a lot of people for granted, or maybe just run the club, we take people for granted, and we didn't really reflect on all the work that's been done over the 50, 60 years. Gosh, Ginge, when I first went there, it was Alan that got me involved. I was a young apprentice at Cochrane's, and I think most people know what my sort of team and loyalty was away back then in the 70s. But I started working in the drawing office with Ginge, and Ginge says, look, no fancy getting involved with Annan instead of going to Glasgow every week. And I went up, and next thing I was on the committee, and then there was the Stranraer game, as you said. But back then Alan was a player, and that was in the 70s, and Ginger's there as president of the club, and I had Simon Aitken, Willie Bone, then of course Sammy, and there's all these names through the years, but we've never really done anything to formally recognise all these people that were involved, committee level, on and off the pitch, people like Anne Jardine, for instance, and then Terry O'Donnell. I don't know how many years Terry was there. Mr. and Mrs. Bone, I just mentioned them. So hopefully going forward we somebody just grabs the thistle, the nettle or whatever, and get a Hall of Fame and get all these people in there, and I'd love to see that happen.
It's just taking a second, because you do get caught up in the whirlwind of the day-to-day running of it, and then next thing you're 10 years time down the line, and you're like, fucking hell,
where did they go?
So it is like sometimes taking a wee moment and reflecting, and that's why, again, getting right into this, we brought the ambassadors, so Sean and Charlie O'Connor and Charlie John Wilson. It's true, an official Sunday night title, but I would love to see that more. I do, because I think it's fantastic, not only for the hospitality perspective, but see, for these guys coming back and feeling like, no doubt they've been part of everything, but they're walking into somewhere, they're comfortable, they're wanted, they're feeling part of something. They walk in with an Annan tie, in you come, people want to hear what you've got to say, they want to hear your stories, they want to feel what it was like to be part of that changing room, to be part of a mentality that you were playing for Annan Athletic, for instance, and being proud of that, and that comes from that very moment that these hospitality people come in and spend 4 or 5 hours at Annan Athletic, breeds through that, through the walls, onto the pitch, through the supporters. Do you know what I mean? So there has to be a proudness and a case of saying, well, this is our identity, this is who we are, and this is where it starts. It's coming from all the way back then, moving forward.
What I would say as well, see from an ex-player's point of view, so your Sean O'Connors, obviously, guys that you potentially could get involved as ambassadors, I think when you retire as a player, see if a club comes to you and looks after you as a retired player, that's massive. Genuinely, if you're looked after as a retired player, see, as soon as you finish, you get forgotten about by a lot of teams. And I think that hits a lot of players really hard. So if you can offer some sort of role within the club, whether it's an ambassador role, whether you're inviting them to be youth coaches, whatever, you're still trying to bring them back to the club that they've spent a lot of time. I think they really appreciate that.
So much to offer still.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because they're football people. That's what they are. They're football people. So, and they understand the club as well. So it is an interesting one, and pretty sure there'll be questions along the way. That we've got a huge amount of questions in for this episode. What I would like to say is I would like to really thank you, as I say, coming on. I know there's some of these questions that are in here from the fans that have came in that you potentially might not be able to answer because you're newly back on the board. I'm pretty sure you'll guide us through them. If you can't answer them, you'll be honest that look, we can't answer that at this moment in time, but we'll look into it and we'll get you the answers for that. And obviously this is only your opinion as well, so
Yeah.
it's like I've got an opinion which can be completely different to yours, so which I'll absolutely voice if I think that as well. So
who's going to win the Premier League this year? You can say Liverpool or Celtic.
No, so it's great, but it's great. I think first and foremost, it is great to have somebody come on and put themselves on the platform to be able and allow the fans to ask the questions. So let's get stuck right into it, Pedro.
Just quickly, I've got spare t-shirt because you're going to be fucking sweating.
I don't think so, Pete. I was a counsellor for 5 years, so I could handle anything.
We'll just get into it then.
Let's go, Ped. You go
Great.
with the first one. Go on then.
So again, just to reiterate, we have kept all the I know people sometimes weren't too bothered if it was anonymous or not, but we've just out of courtesy, we've just kept it anonymous.
It was easier for us
Aye.
rather than splitting them up, wasn't it?
Totally. So, aye, straight off the bat. So, Henry, can you ask Henry if all the money that has been raised from Willie's war chest, that was from the supporters club, that was to be ring fenced for the players' budget, has went to Willie for his budget, or has it been used elsewhere within the club?
Oh, I can answer that. As you're rightly saying, Cammy, I've only been on the board a few weeks now, but prior to that I was chairman of the supporters club, so I had to find out what was happening with the money, because obviously people ask those questions. So I think probably it's easier explaining how the war chest actually worked. We started off with Murphy's Pot, and again that went to Peter for the Christmas to the end of the season, and through that we managed to stay up. So we launched Willie's War Chest, got £22,000, and the way that is set up is that the supporters club make a payment on a monthly basis. So we make a payment, say, let's make it round numbers and say it's £22,000. It's probably round about that, but it's that order of magnitude. So 22k over 10 months is £2,000 a month. That gets paid from the supporters club to the football club at the time that the wages go up, which is 28th of February or the 1st of March. So straight away, it isn't paid in a lump sum, so that needs to be made clear. Some people might think that 20,000 was put across,
right, okay.
because the reason it's like that, because a lot of the supporters, we're talking about guys that are going to the football every week. They've got a lot of expense. So what we do is we take in a monthly contribution. So some people say they're putting in £500, they'll put in £50 a month.
Okay.
So we get that. So we get the £50 a month, and we get all this. I'm saying we because obviously that was my affiliation at the supporters club. But that money would then come in, and at the end of the month, the monies would then be transferred across. So ultimately, it's going there one day before payday. So how it can be spent anywhere else is impossible.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No.
I didn't think it would. You'll make sense of that, Cammy.
No, I do.
The reason I say no is because I say I'm not naive to think that the club's obviously got a bank balance that it's sitting in, although that money is going into the pot, right?
Yeah. I'm actually setting you up to ask the next question, because I know what you're going to ask.
No, I'm not.
But I can follow that on. Right. So that £2,000, how do we know that that's going against the player budget? Yeah.
Yep.
Because everybody will know that the manager gets a budget at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
It does. And the manager's budget on X number of players will have been used up. It has been used up, I know that, and I'm not going to say numbers. It's not fair to say numbers.
No.
And the additional money that was put in from the supporters club has brought Josh Todd and the contribution of Gowsers, and that's where the money's gone. So good. I can say that categorically. I know that, and I've seen the statements back from the financial people, because I asked that question as chairman of the supporters club. So good. I know the money has went to Gowser and
Josh Todd.
And again, it's good that it's been made clear, because again, you always hear the 22k figure and you automatically think, oh, that's just been thrown into the club as a one.
Well, that's my point.
It falls into a pot.
On behalf of people that saying totally, it's just going in the pot.
It gets forgotten about, because it can, if that did get, and I think that's a really sensible move of paying it, in instalments, because as you say, the more chance, or certainly it should be going to the players' wages if it's paid in before the day before, and you've identified where it's going within them players' wages. But I think that probably the perception was that it's 22k, it's been chucked in, and it's then got distributed throughout a number of other areas in the club. So a good question to start with, and really, really good.
Like you say, it's one of them ones that was a massive drive at the start of the season, when our pre-season. It was a big Willie's War Chest. As soon as Willie got the job, the supporters club were on it.
It was a brilliant, a great idea, absolutely. So don't get away from that. Is a great idea and fantastic that the supporters have managed to do that.
Absolutely.
Raise 22 grand, an incredible amount of money. So we can't. It's just, I think that'll probably hopefully clear up a little bit of the 22k's just been chucked in, and then it's, which people do think goes missing if it's chucked in at one go, because there's other bills that will need to be paid. So so that's a good one to start. Also, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to expand on or answer this pretty easily, because there's been moving parts in the last few days. Also, ask him if he thinks that there should be a meeting organised with supporters and shareholders to explain the current financial situation.
Oh yeah. As I say, I've only came back on the board a few weeks, but part of what we were doing with the share prospectus and the business plan, we'd already made a commitment to a meeting anyway. It's just the way that the accounts came out. The club's actually been waiting on the accounts for, 6 months or whatever. They should have been out normally October, November time, but as it happens, they've only came out in the last week or so. I think they were signed maybe just over 10 days ago, something like that. It's as recent as 10 to 14 days, and they came out whenever that was, Wednesday past. And one of the things that we'd said straight away is that we'll get an SGM. It was put in the business plan that we'd have an SGM anyway, so because the shareholders will get the chance to ask the right questions. It's only right. The shareholders are the owners. We're 100% fan-owned club, so they've got to have that opportunity to raise the questions. I think I would make a comment, and this is a personal comment. I think everybody's aware that last year I was probably the main figurehead that led.
A wee bit closer.
Sorry, that led
move the mic a wee bit closer.
Led the EGM last May. We called one, and I think what happens here is this: the accounts probably reflect where the club was 12 months ago, and I think people should view the accounts. That's where it was 12 months ago. Come to the meeting and discuss the accounts, but also have a discussion in the way forward.
Because that was the I think what got people's gripe was the fact that they had held the AGM without obviously having the audited accounts at the time, didn't? Obviously, you weren't part of the
which I don't personally I don't think's right. I think there certainly should be a level of financial information that should be delivered at an AGM, certainly from any organisation, any business, any club, because I think that's unfair on the shareholders or the owners of the club, that they're not getting financial information delivered on an AGM. I don't think that's right. Would you agree with that? Or?
I think it's part of the constitution.
I think there's a couple of things. I'll answer this first. To do with the Constitution. The Constitution's quite clear of the CBS, the Community Benefit Society. Yep. That's how we're set up, being a fan-owned club. So in the Constitution it states that the AGM, I might get this wrong word for word, but it says that within 6 months of the end of the financial year there should be an AGM, and at that AGM the accounts should be available and shared with the owners, shareholders. As it happened, the accounts weren't ready, and that is something that I think the club have to address going forward with the accountants. It shouldn't be difficult this year because the accountants have been getting information right up to December, and there's only another 5 months trading, so it shouldn't take them 9 months or whatever to get.
Do we know what the hold up was?
Sorry?
Do we know what the hold up, or was it on the accountant's side?
I wasn't I don't have that detail, Pete, because I wasn't on the board.
So going forward though, the plan is to have the accounts up to date and obviously widely available for the shareholders.
To meet the Constitution, they're supposed to be available within 6 months. I would like to think the discussions that have been ongoing in recent times with the accountants would get that. But again, that's something that should be addressed at the shareholders meeting, because at that meeting, at AGMs, etc., you appoint the accountants.
Yep.
So I think it's a good question, but it needs to be addressed with the shareholders and the board at an SGM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's one for, obviously, the meeting, again, touching on that, is, remind me of the date, is it the...
Friday the 13th?
13th?
No, Thursday.
Thursday the 13th.
Thursday the 13th of March.
Yes. Yeah,
is
at Galabank.
The special general meeting at Galabank.
For shareholders.
For shareholders.
Shareholders only. Yep.
So shareholders, all the shareholders that are watching are welcome to the meeting, and they'll get hopefully quite a lot of information on the day, which will be great, because again we can discuss obviously the finances, but also, as Henry's already kind of alluded to, the plan going forward, which is probably the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
So put that one in your diaries, everyone. Pedro, next question, number 3.
Of course. Henry, in your opinion, has the move to CBS been better for the club than the model which you previously chaired, in your opinion?
Gosh, this is my personal opinion, and I don't believe the move to the CBS has worked. We signed the documentation in 2017, must have been the spring 2017, and I finished, I think it was October 2017, and I left with the understanding that the CBS would take off and we'd be running as a 100% fan-owned club. So I don't think the spirit of that has evolved. It's probably still carried on almost, I don't know, I'm not meaning to be disrespectful, as a management committee instead of what was meant to be delivered by the CBS. And in saying that, if people pick up the community share prospectus and the business plan in particular, they'll see in the business plan how the structure is being proposed, and that's where the directors will have a particular role. So they'll have objectives and a key role. So for instance, business development, that's my role, that'll be my directorate. I've got a small team, just now my team's Chris Tidmarsh and Debbie Young for finance.
Yep.
So the three of us, the prospectus has been put together, the business plan showing how the board will have the various directorates split. What isn't in the business plan are the people that will actually be carrying out these roles. But part of the CBS, and this is a key element, is that I've mentioned Chris Tidmarsh, and I just want to give you this practical example of how this hopefully will build and develop going forward. So I'm quite excited and encouraged that we will be okay. The club will be fine. We'll make sure of that. I'm backing the board with one mission, and my mission is to make sure that we've got a sustainable club, and it is in 100% in the spirit of what a fan-owned club should be. So I've mentioned Chris. Chris is a shareholder.
Yep.
The directorates, each director will have a responsibility to get his team together. So I'm director for business development. I've got Chris involved. Debbie's in there finance, because there's some tax implications in this, because one of the big things with the share offer, if we talk about that after, is that there's a tax incentive. So on that, we've started to, one of the first things we started to do is put the share prospectus together. Chris has been on holiday in Australia for 5 weeks at his daughter's.
Right.
In that time, when he went to Australia, we didn't even have the bones of the prospectus. Across there, his daughter, him, myself here, his wife Jean, we've been communicating back and forward. The share prospectus was done on some kind of software called, I think it's called Canva, which is the Australian equivalent of Adobe. So let me tell you, for 5 weeks while Chris has been across there, half of the time he's been spent working on this prospectus with his daughter, and his daughter's in full-time employment, Claire, doing this. Not only that, his son Andrew, back in this country, has been pulling together the spreadsheets and databases that we need to control the shareholding going forward. So this is just a small part to show what fan-owned actually means. So we've got one of our supporters, he goes to almost all the away games, and he's gotten right in here, hook, line and sinker, and became part of this team and pushing this forward. So if you imagine that the directorates start to expand in that way, suddenly instead of 9 directors trying to run the club without any structure, any accountability and responsibility, you've suddenly got small teams. Then if you develop that further, that small team, it maybe gets a wee bit bigger, 3, 4, 5, and then you get another layer underneath, and suddenly all the fans start to feel again and get this ownership. This is my club and I'm contributing. So this will start to filter and filter. So when I say, has it worked? No, because that isn't the way it was intended, how it's been the last 7 years, but there's a chance now to put it right. How does that sound?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Has it been decided who's doing what on the board yet?
And will that be made public?
That will be made public.
Just when you mention accountability.
Yeah, we've in the business plan, as I said earlier there,
so the business plan for everyone who's watching has just been put out on the website today, only today, the 28th of February. So everyone get a look at it because it is very in-depth. And again, it'll be interesting people's reaction to it, because I've briefly read most of it myself, and I do like what I see. Again, it's a plan, it's a structure, so please get a look at it, just for people that, when we're referring to it, maybe not seen it yet.
So the directors that are currently on the board, they'll start to pick up these roles. We've already agreed that these are the directorates. Pretty much the names are already in the boxes, but it's that'll get released in due course.
Just to go, because we've got these. This is them on the third page here. Company secretary, football operations.
Well, the company secretary is easy. That's Susan.
Right.
Yep.
Bar and house operations, business development, which is obviously yourself, commercial, communications and marketing, community engagement, facility management, finance, and standards and compliance.
Yep.
So that's the roles that are...
Yeah, and these pillars, these are the pillars that we need to make the club successful. There's so much we have to meet, everything from club licensing down to boosting that to Clubhouse, Bar and House, and getting that used on a more regular basis.
Again, I think the big question, you use the word accountability, will be that people's names get put against these roles, and that's when you do become accountable, because ultimately if areas in the business fail, then that's when, again, the owners, the shareholders can obviously have their say, that not just finger pointing, but saying, look, that we identify that area isn't working the way that it's worked, so we need to look at that maybe a little bit more in depth. So I think when there is names put to these roles, it certainly does push the accountability. And so you're saying it will become public knowledge for the shareholders to know who's doing what role?
Oh yeah, of course it will. No, it has to be. And then that, I don't know how that will come out, whether it comes out on the website or through the social medias, but it's important, because once we identify, or it goes public, who the directors are, I'm sure and I hope that they'll be looking to build their teams and strengthen their teams, and bringing in ordinary shareholders. And people don't need to be shareholders to get involved, because okay, Cammy, you're a shareholder, Pete, you're part of the staff, but anybody that can have a contribution to the various elements there. And it may well be that, for instance, legal advice, and on that I've had someone that comes to the games quite regularly saying, look, I can't do anything official, but fire something across me and I'll have a read it and I'll give you a steer.
Yep.
So it's stuff like that, those contributions, that's what fan own's all about. It's getting those contributions for as many people as possible. Andrea Manson, she's a really busy lady, but Andrea said as well, if there's anything I can do to help, Junkie, fire it in my direction. And you'll find that these other directors, there'll be people, when they see that stream, they'll think, oh, I can help there. And that's where Chris's came on with me, because he's been perfect for this. And there'll be loads of others out there that will get that chance.
You mentioned I'm a shareholder. The emails came out with regards to, obviously, the special general meeting. I found out there was a special general meeting, not through my email though, and again, which was a little bit disappointing, I've got to be honest. As a shareholder, I made sure I checked that I was an active shareholder, which I am. I checked that through Fanbase, obviously, where the platform is that you can check your membership. Is that something that, again, I was concerned not just about myself, but about other shareholders, that information's constantly getting to every single shareholder, because every shareholder is the exact same within this club.
Yeah. It's disappointing to hear that, Cammy. I'm hoping that what we're putting in place with the share prospectus is that we'll get the existing information list of shareholders. One of Chris's roles, and I just mentioned his son Andrew, he's put this database together that will be protected, obviously, for individuals. It has to be under, is it GDPR or whatever it is. So it'll be carefully done in that manner, but this will be stored on the cloud, and it's going to be Chris's responsibility to ensure that every single member is on this database. So where we've got people missing like yourself, hopefully we'll just through the podcast, through the shareholder meeting and communications going forward, we'll make sure that everybody's on board, but they'll be included in this database. And knowing the way Chris is working already, every single person will be informed. If they don't have email, he will be sending out letters.
Yep.
So we do have shareholders that didn't have emails because no disrespect age-wise, but there's some of the people are such that they just don't have email.
Yeah.
And but it's a gap that has to be closed, and in our business development side of things, we'll close that gap.
What when you're mentioning these specific positions that you're in business development, I attended the meeting, the last EGM it was, or a special general meeting, sorry.
Yeah.
And it was mentioned at the time that there would be subcommittees or subgroups, which sounds kind of similar to what, but as far as I'm led to believe, every subgroup has been dissolved since that.
Yep.
Because they got started, which was the aim. I think, like we were saying, is people were wanting involved, or not wanting involved, wanting help. Sorry, it's more the point. And we realised 9 people on the board. I think it's 9, is it 11? 9.
9.
Yep. They can't do it all themselves.
Yep.
People recognise that, and there is options for people to help. And this is what the point of the subgroups, I believe, was for. So then, when ideas were coming through from subcommittees and trying to help and put forward propositions for moving the club forward, got batted away or ignored or whatever.
Yeah,
we've
not done it. We don't do it that way.
No, it's not the way it's done, or whatever the answer was. It's just not been moved forward, and then people lose interest and people step back away, and you're like, well, I can't help anyway. Which is what, and from the wider audience, or the wider community, if you feel like, it looks like that's why it looks like the club's a shut book.
Yeah.
From an outside looking in, it does. Which, I mean, you walk about and you hear things, and it just looks like you can't get involved anyway. So that's where it's tough to get. But like I say, everyone's right behind what we want to happen at the club, or we wouldn't be talking about it. I mean, that's the point.
I think if we go back to last summer as well, there was cards on the table. There was a fair bit of anger that an EGM had actually been called. So there was still a lot of angst and disharmony, acrimony amongst all the parties, and it didn't have the proper structure. It was destined to fail. The concept was good. It felt that people were starting to come together, but I think the difference then compared to now is that individuals are given this directorate. They've got, as you mentioned, Cammy, the accountability and responsibility. If that directorate fails, the responsibility is not 9 directors, because where it's 9 directors and everything in totality, it's awfully easy to hide. Mm-hmm. There's no hiding room in this. Yeah. So this is accountability and responsibility. And see, the directors, they've got that. They've got skill sets that they can use. So this is the chance. It's start again. It's take the CBS to where it should be, and this is the tool and mechanism for doing it. And this is what should have happened 7 years ago.
Because this is the way it was kind of sold to us, was it not?
It was.
I don't fully believe that it was going to go global or going to go a wider.
Yeah, way back then, we'd taken almost a year's advice from Supporters Direct, and we'd worked with them, and the model was there. And there
was other teams that done it, wasn't it, at the time?
Absolute United, FC Manchester. These were other teams that had done that as well. So the model's already there. But okay, it's never too late. It's a new start.
Yeah. Move on to the next one.
Of course.
Good. Yeah, it was good. What provisions is in place should the initial share offering not meet the desired amount? Are the club in a position to complete the season without deductions as things stand?
Yeah, that good question, leading question as well. I think that's what's on a lot of people's minds. We hear, it's only a few weeks since I've been on the board, but we hear all the rumours and how much of a struggle it is. We know it's a struggle. We've seen 2 years of accounts, and we know how hard it is to get by. Just take a look at Inverness. They've went away over their heads. Dumbarton, it's the same. I think the good thing is that we're not going to finish bottom, and I think we're in a battle with Montrose and Kelty. I believe Inverness will go past the three of us. But to get to the end of the season, the shareholding, we put that number in 100,000. 100,000 way exceeds what the club actually needs on a monthly basis to get to the end of the season. It doesn't, and will never survive on crowds to 300 to 400. So we've got to think of different ways. But for instance, next Saturday, Stennismuir, there's at least 35 in hospitality. The number for Coon of the South, 50, 60. We've got the shirt draw. The shirt draw will be coming out soon. I noticed Queen's was today. I think probably in the next week, I think there's a board meeting on Tuesday night, we'll see the shirt draw coming out as well.
Start launching it.
Yeah, then there'll be the SFA payments, the SPFL payments. There's a dinner in the Cairndale that I was going to call him Scratcher, that Ian McClatch is organising. That's got to generate 5 figures and all. This is only phase 1 that we're talking about with the share prospectus. There'll be a phase 2. Phase 2 will be coming probably sometime in April. I think it'll be. I'm confident. I don't see a major issue that we won't get to the end of the season. There's work to be done, and there's some hard work to be done, but we're going in the right direction now.
We have jumped a wee step there, because for people that might not know that this actually came out, do you want to explain a wee bit of what the shareholders the offering was for?
The first offer is again, it goes way back to the constitution that was set up 7 years ago. So gosh, it's 2017, so it's almost 8 years ago now. And in that constitution, we've got 2 types of shares. We've got the ordinary share that every single person can buy at £10, and that becomes a subscription where you pay that every year, and you can do that now through Fanbase. Pretty much that'll be the tool that's supposed to get everybody on a mailing list, but obviously there's a wee failure there. But anyway, that's the ordinary share. But the Constitution also allows community shares to be allocated, and the advice that's was taken from Supporters Direct and that's built into the Constitution is that these shares are in blocks of £5,000. So an individual or a company can purchase up to 4 shares. 20,000 is the limit. For individuals, there's a taxation. I can't remember the name of the scheme. It's in there. There's 3 letters. I'm sure you'll find it if you look at something like EIC. But again, Debbie's putting the appropriate applications in place so individuals can get 1,500 tax relief on a 5,000 block of shares. These shares, they are payable in return. They can be paid back to the individuals, but only at the discretion of the club. So they're, in a way, I think it's something like 3-4 years before anything can be paid back. And there's a clause, I think the guidance states that only 10% of the shareholding can be paid back at any one time. So let's say we had a brilliant year. We won the Scottish Cup, you get 800,000, £1 million. At that point, the board would then have the opportunity to pay back. I know that's a bit far-fetched, but it's that kind of thing. At some point, big game against Rangers, for instance, or Celtic in the Cup, you could
surplus funds there that could.
Yeah, and you could.
So if the club get in a position, they
if
can
the club
pay
get
it back.
to that position, you can get pay back
if they want it back.
If people want it back. In my personal situation, I'll never want it back, and I'm sure there'll be others that are the same.
Yep.
But again, the other thing as well is that you can transfer them on. So let's say you can transfer them onto your family. So in my case, well, I'm not here forever, so I would transfer mine on to Tel and Lisa. But anyway, that's another opportunity.
So see on the £5,000 share offering, for me, I'm going to be honest, when I look at the club and the running of the club over the last, certainly, I mean, the finances have came out, which shows over a loss of £100,000 in the last 23-24 finances. What would you say to me? Why would I invest or put my money, £5,000, into a failing company or business at this moment in time when there's no evidence, certainly from me, to say that the club's going to spend that money wisely, or is it just going to be another £100,000 once it's raised, lost again in another financial year? Because I don't see, for me, the decisions that have been getting made over the last 2-3, certainly the last couple of years, where they've made huge losses of the club, and they're now in a real struggle in a financial position. What would you say to me? Of what would give me confidence of investing £5,000 in the club at this moment in time, when I still feel the same people that can make the decisions are still in place? Yeah,
I get where you're coming from there, Cammy. Because there's a few ways of answering that. I think if you take, let's say, the loss, and I think the loss is something like 150,000 that's reported in the accounts. Well, at the EGM last year, I think it was fairly well known that there was something like £5,000 in the accounts.
Yep.
That's common knowledge. The people that were at that meeting knew that. So I'll just put a question back. That where did the 156,000 loss come from? It's things like depreciation and stuff like that. So the club can't possibly have lost in hard cash £156,000 in a year, because we only had something like 5,000 in the bank in May. So if you see what I mean, that's the accountancy. The key thing's looking at the profit and loss. And when you look at the profit and loss page in the accounts, you'll see individual items like wages, what the players' wages are, management wages, what's been received from the SFA, the SFL, what's received from crowds, sponsorship, all that thing. That's clear on the back page. So the reality is the club haven't lost 156,000 in hard cash. That's just the accountancy side of things, the way accounts are set up. But I'd like to sort of go back, and part of the share prospectus shows you some photographs when it was probably in the 90s. So back in the 90s, Gala Bank had a coo shed, and we had the horse huts down the bottom. We never had hundreds of thousands of pounds, but what we did have, we had a support behind us, and that support contributed. So I remember a number of us put in £1,000 each, and that £1,000 each helped build the social club. And I think as well, there may well have been one of the local companies put a chunk of money in as well, in 5 figures. So back then, we got that from the supporters in the community. That gave us the social club. That social club started generating revenues. When we got the grandstand, we couldn't afford to build the stand, but we got M&S Engineering through Davy Monk. All the materials were at cost, and the labour was free of charge. We got that. That was part of the giving. We, Will and Margaret. Will and Margaret came in and gave us a lump sum. When we joined the league in 2008, we £40,000 I think we had in the bank in our building fund. I remember coming down the stairs at Hampden with your dad, Ginge and Dick Shaw, the fours are coming down, and I'm going, oh hell, what have we done? We just made a commitment to put up floodlights. Floodlights, 126,000, and we said we'd have them up by the 31st of August, and that's us on the 4th of July or something. We'd only 40,000 in the building fund. Those floodlights went up, and again, that was the spirit of the community. I went round loads of groups, and I remember going to one in Moffat, and I thought I was going for £500, and they asked me to go outside, and brought me back in. They gave us £5,000. So that was the spirit back then. The pitch, when we laid the pitch in the covered terrace at the home end, that was a £700,000 project. We got £7,000 was what we spent on a 700k project, and again that money came from the council, the Scottish Government. I remember I met one of the government ministers who came down to the Dunfermline game, and it was the Communities Cup then that was sponsored by the Scottish Government, and at that point, Annan weren't getting the pitch. We just weren't in the run, and it was going to be at Dumfries and Stranraer. So I'll not mention the person's name, it would be unfair, but I sat and spoke with him, and he asked me what would be needed to get a pitch here, and I says they need £250,000, they need another £250,000, and within 2 weeks that £250,000 was granted. So we got the pitch, but they made an almighty cock up, and they took the covered terracing out. So that wasn't included in the scope, and as it happened back then, I says, right, you're not getting in to start the work on Monday. They says, you can't do that. I says, watch us. So shortly after that, the scope came back in for the covered terrace. So that was 700,000 for 7,000. So what I'm trying to say is that we've been there before. We've got a list of projects on here that can be done, but when you go for these grants, you've got to have a certain amount of money in the bank, and it's that money in the bank that shows that you can make your commitment. Now, you don't need 100%, you don't need 50%, but if you can have enough of those money sitting there in the bank, that allows you then to go for the funding that you need. Now, the SFA's got a big fund coming out that will be tapped into by us, and that'll help develop the facilities at the top end, and that'll be a project that I would hope would gather moss in the coming 12 months. So all I'm trying to say is that although the accounts, they don't look great on face value, but we're only looking at £100,000 to keep the club afloat. We need money in, and of course we do, and we've got to work at that by being as inventive as we can, but at the same time we've got to look to the future, and we've got to grow, and as we grow the facilities we then create more revenue, and that's what it's all about.
But is the board learning from with regards to where they're going wrong in spending money? Because there obviously has been mistakes, there's no getting away from they've spent money in the wrong areas, or they've not generated enough money from the right areas, because that's my question, is that again the £5,000 and the £100,000, there needs to be, I know what you're saying, that they're maybe not as bad as they look, but there still needs to be better decisions being made around the club.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Cammy, on that, and that's why we're going into these business streams, because you mentioned accountability and responsibility, and that's where individuals will have that responsibility. So just for instance, I just mentioned before there, like the clubhouse operations.
Yep.
So the clubhouse operations, there's got to be an increase in revenue there.
100%.
And the same with hospitality. Come on, I'm not speaking out of turn here, because this was one of my main concerns last year. We had Queen of the South and Falkirk in our league, 4 big home games. We did not exploit the hospitality in that. It's absolutely crazy. Our first year in League One. So individuals now have accountability, responsibility, and that's how we'll all be measured. I'm up front and where I am. If I fail in this, I deserve to get lost.
Yep.
And that's how I see it.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Anything to elaborate? No.
No. Yeah,
we've got a lot to get through.
We have a lot to get through.
The next one's an interesting one.
You'll be regretting asking me.
No. The next one's an interesting one. With increased crowds being key to a financial sustainable club, what is the first step to re-engaging with the community and fan base? And what I'm going to refer to, I'm going to give you some stuff again, Henry, about recent times at the club, recent games, crowd numbers. Montrose, 25th of December, 233 fans at the game. Alloa on Saturday there, 278. Them two fixtures were the 2 lowest attendances in the whole of the SPFL. That's including the League 2 teams, by far as well.
Yeah.
Which is concerning. Again, you look at Montrose, you've played them twice, which I get there's different timings of the year. Home game on the 5th of October, another home game on the 25th of January, a decrease in crowd of 28%. Alloa played them twice this season, 24th of August, 22nd of February, a decrease in 43% in your crowd. Again, you've got the lowest average attendance out of your league, 424. Kelty are sitting second bottom of 475. Cove are third of 489. And I always get this, people like, so Annan's a small place. Kelty's population, 6,000 people, roughly. Annan's population, 9,000 people. Cove's population, 8,000 people. So that isn't an excuse for me. I certainly think this is a huge concern for the club. And personally, being in and around the club, I think the club has lost its engagement with the community. I think it's lost its identity with the community. I think it's very disjointed at this moment in time. So my question would be, and certainly from somebody, and that was just elaborating on somebody's question there when I looked into it, because I did notice the crowds when I've been at the games myself recently, and it's a massive concern for the clubs because you need fans in the building to make money. Of course you do, and you need fans there to support the club. They're the heartbeat of the club, getting people in the door, getting them spending time at the club, and it should be a community hub. What are the club going to do about it?
Gosh, as I say, I'm only recently on the board, but those statistics are worrying, and I'm well aware of the stats as well. But I suppose we have to go back to fundamentals and just take, for instance, how many kids are at the soccer school in the youths. There's got to be 250 to 350 kids playing football.
Well, we recently obviously done the live show, many? And it was again, we got told it was roughly about 310 between boys and girls that attend the youths.
Yeah,
which is a huge number.
So you've got 310 boys and girls there. You've then got the walking football. You've got the ladies football. Yep. We're missing a trick somewhere, and that's where I think I'm hoping that in phase 2 that it really comes to fruition, that we need to get people back having a pride in the club. We've got to have this connection to the town, so we've got to build on that, and we can do simple things like where was I can't remember what game I was at recently, and one of the guys were saying that every primary school takes it in turn, and they bring primary school kids in free of charge. They give them a wee bit of hospitality, they meet the mascot, meet the players, and they go away delighted. The following week, half of them come back with their parents. So it's wee initiatives like that. But what was the crowd when we got pumped 3-0 against Arbroath?
So 478.
Arbroath,
yeah. So if you take those numbers at 200, 478, there's already a 150% increase just by an initiative. So things like that have got to happen.
It was 50% from just over 50% from the week before, the previous game before.
And it's 150% from those numbers that you've just gave me. So it's initiatives like that have to happen. And
so the stats are telling, this is where that concerned me, that I knew there was a big push, and certainly Pete was involved in that. So
we'll both forget it, and obviously others as well.
There was a big push on that day to create a family day and create a feeling around the club that people were welcome, and a big push because, again, us guys want the club to do well. We want it to be buoyant and a huge fan base there, and people enjoying themselves as well.
Yep.
Off the back of that, nothing's happened since.
Nothing's happened since, that's right. And you'll see one of the roles in there's community engagement. That's one of the directorates, so that'll be the responsibility of a director going forward. And when we start, if we look at all these individual streams, if they can just start to make small improvements across the 9 streams, those 9 small improvements become a decent improvement. And if they keep making those incremental small improvements, it suddenly gets bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take a lot of work across all the streams, and it's only then that we'll get the results. And everybody will have to really work hard at what their new responsibilities are going to be. And I think we'll get the results. And we've got to interact much better with Annan again, with the town of Annan. I can remember way back, and I'm going back to the time of your dad with the soccer school, Cammy. When the kids come in at primary 1, the first thing they got was black and gold. And I know the podcast Black and Gold Annan, Black and Gold Galabankies. You got the academy, you wear the black and gold tie, the rugby club's black and gold, everything's black and gold. The minute a kid comes in there, they should feel part of the club, and they should be an integral part of that club, and that's where you make the first connection. So I see all the social stuff that you guys are doing with the youth, but it's got to be in such a way that it is totally linked to Annan Athletic. Those kids in primary 1 are wearing that badge, and they wear that badge all the way through. So no matter what people think out there, they've got the Annan Athletic badge on. You're part of Annan Athletic. Now, some people don't believe that they're connected. We've got to break that and get this back, that it's one club. And I know that Russell believes in that one club. So I'm maybe giving a name away there, but this is where we've got to go.
This leads us on nicely, right, from it. This is off topic. So the one club thing, it's a wee bit of stickler for me here. Obviously, for people that might not know, the youth is separate. It's a separate entity. The kids wear an athletic badge, 100% right, and they rightly should. We should be wanting this. This is what I think parents probably want. I think for people who maybe don't know or the one at the meeting for the thing is at the community meeting, the reason why the community and the community football, and the main and athletic, if you like, are separate is if there's issues with if their coaches aren't up to a certain standard or drop below a certain standard or level wise, badge wise, or there's implications of what else was it?
Club licence.
So club licence is the big one, isn't it?
Yeah, club licence is the big one. Yeah.
And I get that. I totally get that. You don't want to jeopardise it. Why not? Sorry, let me elaborate on that. Shh. I don't want to go into. I do. Fuck it. I don't. Why the fuck? Why can we no show a bit of fucking pride and say, well, get your coaches sorted out. Have someone at the helm of the youth department, system. Sorry, that's saying. I'm not. This isn't to dig at Eric if he was thinking that. I mean, someone that's because Eric was saying he's walking away. So. Have someone in place that's going to run the coaches.
Like a development officer.
For instance, rugby club, I'll use that as a perfect example.
Yep.
They have a funded role for a development officer,
yep.
And I think it runs fantastic. Well, it's a great model.
We're both quite passionate in this because we've both got kids and they're both in the system. So again, I'm seeing it. I see my daughters in the system with the ladies and the girls, and I think they're far better run than the youth football at this moment in time. I think it's very disjointed, but I don't think that's helped by the club either. I don't think the club support it enough. I don't think they see it as important enough either. What I would say is that I've never seen a successful, I totally agree with Pete, I think I've very rarely seen a successful youth system where they've not got somebody at the helm who's running it, who's coordinating it, who's driving it. I think the club licensing thing, yes, I get it, but why are we not, as Pete said, saying, well, let's go and get that? Why are we just saying, oh, we can't do that? They've put the brakes on and says, stay away from us. They've not says, stay away from us for the next 2 years. We've got a plan of action to get all our coaches up to grade, our safety officers, everything we need to bring that in-house. There's just no plan at this moment in time.
I think I'd like to come back on that. As I say, I'm only in the door. We're back in the door a few weeks, and I don't think it's completely blown out the water. That's not the impression I'm getting. I've heard some conversation on this. I'm not too au fait with what's happening in the youth side of things, and it's nearly 8 years since I've been involved in club licensing. But I would think one of the sort of main issues will be how would it be funded, and how would you actually put everybody through the training it needs to be. Now, I could see a model that would work where if we get the additional funding in that I really expect will come in phase 2, that we can then put all the coaches through, because it's so long expecting the coaches to pay themselves. In the old days, what we've done, we funded that. We funded all the coaching. In fairness,
the club do fund it. Sorry, I mean, I'm sorry, I was talking about funding their
but for club licensing, it takes a bit more than just the basic coaching badges. You've got to have everything to do with child protection, etc. So
my question would be though, why can't we get that? Why can't we get somebody in place?
I think that can happen, and what I would suggest is that under football operations, that should be part of that directorate's responsibility, because football operations is what Annan Athletic's about. Now, there's got to be a mechanism of bringing it all together. If we're wanting the one club, we've got to find the way. Now, I know, speaking to someone in youth football last week, he was telling me that one of the senior people in the SFA and the youth side of things finds it absolutely incredible that we haven't got all this in-house. And I find it strange. I don't know enough about it. I don't know how it's evolved. As I say, I've been away for a bit. I don't know what the mechanisms are and what the obstacles and hurdles are. But surely they can be overcome.
Is that something the board are interested in, though? Is that connection between the youths and the club? Because I think for me it's so important, because we just spoke about the 300 odd kids we've got in our system. I think the bigger picture, there is a question later on, the bigger picture is Annan should be producing players into their team, and I know every team says that, but you've got to have a plan and a pathway, a structure, a strategy put in place of how we do that. And for me, that is having good coaches. See, when you get to year 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19s that we should all be high level coaches. The club should be providing them. I get there's a financial implication with that, but they should be providing them with the licenses if they are keen enough to go and do it. But the long term picture is that if we get good coaches, we get good players.
Yeah, we've got good kids. That's where you get your return.
And again,
that is investment.
Yeah,
long term.
And I think, see, on that, Cammy, just sorry for interrupting, but one of the things that, do we want to sort of base everything round about where we were as an East of Scotland and South of Scotland side, or do we not actually understand that we're a League One side? Totally. We're in the top 5 part-time teams in Scotland.
Yep.
That, at one point last year in the league, we were the 4th highest part-time team in Scotland. Yep. We're still there. We're still in the top. We're in the top 6 because of our position in the league. That's where we are in the Scottish football pyramid.
Yep.
So that's got to be reflected right through the business. And I totally get where you're coming from. So I can't answer the question going forward, will it happen? But if there's a way it can happen, it should. And that's my personal opinion. It's not the board's opinion, because I don't know the full board opinion, but my personal opinion, based on all my experience for the past, is that if it can happen, it should happen. And I think there would have to be a way. But there has to be a willingness to explore the route and at the same time make full compliance, because make no bones about it, if Annan Athletic FC fail in club licensing, you saw what happened to Bonnyrigg. Bonnyrigg had an issue with their pitch that they didn't address. They lost 6 points. Mm-hmm. There's loads of elements to that, but there's got to be a way, because it does happen at other clubs.
Well, that's it, and it becomes accountability. You're not doing your job, so you're feeling it. Get your finger out.
I get that.
To a certain extent.
It's a structure that needs to be looked at.
It has to be part of a structural review. And again, there is this intimation that we want the one club. To get the one club, it can only happen. It cannot be one club if it's so disjointed. It has to happen. And that's, I get that from the board. I've already picked that up from the board, that they want this one club. And good, I like that, because that's where it needs to be.
It's like, and even just tiny wee things. See all this, like
same strips.
100%. That is exactly what I was going at.
From ladies right down to primary one,
continuity.
Same kit. But can I say something on that? Just imagine the buying power you've got. If you've got 300 kids, okay, yeah, they're all different sizes. 300 kids through the ladies, through the first team, the coaching staff, every member of the coaching staff walking about with the same gear on, no looking like ragtag and Bob. I keep going back to your dad. I just remember the soccer school. Everybody in that soccer school were dressed the same. Mm-hmm. And that's what it should be. It's fragmented as well. It has to be all brought back together.
So important for kids, though, for me. And that was a big thing for me. Identity, equality. Again, everyone's the same. You go into training the same, not any less or better than anyone else. You're the exact same as them because you've got the same kit. And again, I think that's a huge part in a football club, in any football club. So I think that can get lost a little bit. And that was probably important for us when we were buying the kids stuff. Everybody got the exact same thing. And they feel just as important as the person next to them. So
it should be the same as the first team, Cammy. It should be right across the piece.
It should be. Because you see other youth teams, I know, but it's not different levels. It's the same. It's the same point. Like I say, I've seen one of the lads, Kieran Brannan, used to play with Annan.
Oh yeah.
His boy plays with Motherwell youths. it's the same strip as the first team.
But why would it no be?
Exactly.
Set your standards. So
Set your standards,
that's where
but
you
the
are.
standards has to come.
As you said,
But it has to come from the top and filter.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
It
in
has to,
another
in any
League One
organisation.
team, that's massive. Like, and I
That's the point I'm
genuinely,
making.
I don't think that sometimes I look and has the club grasped where they are? Do we really realise how good a position we're in? And the worrying thing for me is, we're in such a good position. I said this to you today, possibly, or yesterday. And they're in League One, and the crowd of 233 worries me, because it's the best footballing position they've been in for a long, long time. And it's a great product to go and watch. Forever. Great product to go and watch. So something's wrong. Wrong. So that's going back. Sorry, that's going back to the other question. Right, let's move on. Where are we up? Yeah, that was good.
Is that question 4?
Honestly, I've lost.
Question
Tell you boys will regret getting me on here.
Are you going next?
No,
you want me?
That was me.
Oh, was it?
Was it not?
No, I don't know what question.
Asian community and fan base. That was you. Sorry. Great. Number 6. Yeah.
How many questions are there?
No, we've got a lot. We'll fly through a couple of these, so just keep them
We
short.
are touching on different, so we might,
Okay.
we might
So
skip
it might,
over them
there's
if
some same sort of similar questions that'll
there
give
is.
similar answers. On you go, Pete.
So in regards to the share offering, any individual putting in 5k has probably been moderately successful in some part of their life business. How would their ideas be heard?
Yeah, that's part of the bigger picture as well. Part of this fan ownership is tapping into the local business and local community. Gosh, I mentioned M&S Engineering a way back when the boys' dad was still alive. Davy came to a original committee meeting. We weren't aboard then, and he gave us an insight as to how we should be doing certain things. And by God, we listened to it, and we took some of the stuff that he said on board. And that's key. That's what we tap into. There's a number of new young entrepreneurs, young successful businessmen, and we need to tap into that. There's things that guys are doing, and it's a modern world, different way of thinking. One of the things that I would say as well is recently one of our sponsors is Annandale Distillery. So I'm doing a bit of work for them just now, and I was talking to David, Professor Thompson and Teresa Church just 2 weekends past, and they just talking generally about Annan, and I was saying, it's hard like every other club. We're really struggling. That's just the way it is just now in football. And I mentioned about the share prospectus and what was coming, and then Teresa turned around and said, well, tell you what, Henry, we've got 3 people in our marketing, and Annan Athletic can have full access to them. So that's an example of what local businesses can do. So when it comes to phase 2, and let's try and get the businesses on board as much as we can with these 5,000 shares, and there's individuals that can do that as well, and let's get that on the way, give the club a bit of sustainability. Phase 2 takes us to a different level, and I can tell you this, I am going to work with those 3 marketing people in Annandale Distillery, and the club will work with them, and that suddenly gives us a whole different professionalism. And what was saying there, and what you alluded to there, Cammy, we're a League One club, and let's go at it like a League One club, but better. And what can happen beyond that, we don't know. Let's see. And all that stuff that's in the business plan, it is achievable, and there's ways of doing it, but you've got to have that will and that drive. And that wee door opening there with the distillery, that might just be what might make the difference. And you said about professionals that could get involved. There's a live example 2 weeks ago.
So the answer is that the club are open to ideas,
100%.
people who have got certain skill sets to come in and help the club.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. And this is what this is where we're going. This is what we're trying to do. But we've, as we said, and as I said a few times, it's all about giving us a bit of sustainability, and we need as much support as we can in this initial drive to get this 100,000, give us a good platform to go into the close season and get right in about phase 2, because phase 2 has got the potential to make this club something else.
It's all right saying it though as well, Henry, because the club have said it before that they're open to help, and Pete alluded it to before, where they had the meeting, and they said they wanted subcommittees, and then there was the resistance. So it's up to the current board at this moment in time to to allow people in, allow help,
Yep.
allow the club to grow, because again, every single person in the world's got a skill set of some sort, and everybody's different.
Absolutely.
So you need to look at
all
that.
levels.
So I think it's just use guys, because I feel as if there was a lot of people like, I tried to help and I got the door closed in my face almost with loads of ideas. So I think the club have got a little bit of trust building to do in the initial period.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I think, having been on the other side of the fence in the supporters club, that we've got to pull together, and it's all about pulling together and maximising the use of resources. And that resource is everybody that's got a belief and wants to help the club, and we've got to utilise that to its maximum potential, or we'll only go in one direction.
Yep, good. Next one I'll go for is, how will the global offering be structured to maximise its potential? This is a global share offering.
Yeah, I've kind of alluded
mentioned
a wee bit there to the distillery and the marketing team.
Yep.
What I really don't want to give away at this point is the theme that we're going to go with. I really don't want to.
No, that's fine.
No, that's you've got launch dates that you're going for.
We've got launch dates and stuff, but on the global, there's a couple of things that I can say about the global. It's to try and get thousands of shares at individuals at £10, and get that across the world. So imagine every anniversary of when you take your initial share option, because of fan base, it automatically renews in a 12-month period. That's how it works in fan base. So let's say sometime in May, the end of the season, that you get 10,000 across the world at £10. That means every year at the end of the season you've got £100,000 coming in. That's just a number. I'm just pulling a number just for an example. But imagine if you offered life membership at £500, because part of this initial phase one is that anybody that takes a £5,000 share, they will be given life membership at Club 1942. That's the new life memberships, Club 1942. People have been asking, what does it cost for a life membership? And we've been saying £500. Can we pay that now? I've got a number of people that have said to me, can I pay it now? No, let's hold that back to phase two, because we'll also have, we've got the £10 to get that. We'll have the £500 for life memberships, and there'll be a number of other opportunities in there to invest in the club. So across the world, there might be people that may want to buy a community share at £5,000 or £20,000. But what we'll do is we'll put something together in phase two that'll make this global, and we will tap in to the marketing offer that we've been given from the distillery.
Yep, because that's what I think. There was a wee bit of not a backlash by any means, but there was a few comments made. Like, fuck's got £5,000 sitting about. I think maybe more the fact. I mean, you'll hopefully correct me or continue on, but it's maybe more aimed at companies, or maybe more with the tax.
The tax incentive thing comes from individuals as well that own the companies, that can afford it, and we're starting to see a response to it. I've not caught up to speed this week because, as I say, I work away and I'm just really catching up tonight, and I've came here, but that is the main driver. That's what we're trying to do initially, is get these lump sums in, but there is also an opportunity on this to take a payment plan out, so individuals can actually pay for a community share over 2 years.
Right.
So I know some of the guys for the supporters club that's been well into the war chest, what they're doing, I'll be speaking to some of them again tomorrow. I know there's a group of at least 10 that I've got, I think that potentially they're going to put in 15,000 over the 2 years, but it makes it affordable to them on a weekly, monthly basis. And my Terry's one of them, and he's not a big earner, but they can afford to do that. And I just got a text from one of the guys tonight saying that they're going to be putting in their £10 a week as part of this group that Lee Clark's going to pull that together in the supporters club, and some of the people will be able to put a wee bit more in than others, but they can come in as a syndicate. So we can allow syndicates. Husband and wives can go in, and on the 5,000 they can come in as a pair, and at the end, whether they pay pay it up in the payment plan or whether they take it out initially, they'll both become life members.
So anyone in a syndicate becomes a life member as well?
Yeah,
or what happens?
And on that syndicate side of things, what we've said in there, and it's in the prospectus, as long as the individuals pay £500,
yep,
so if part of that syndicate, they pay the £500 over the 2 years, they'll become a life member.
Brilliant.
So, but I know and it's right that the guys, that whoever's put that question has got that feedback, because the information wasn't out there. And again, but given the opportunity tonight, I'm explaining it a bit further.
100%. That was the whole. That was
good.
a point of it tonight.
And it's good that obviously a lot of this stuff's come out this week, so it's great for everyone to hear about it and get information on it. It is good. Next question I'll go with is, and I've heard this phrase which I don't like a number of times, actually in a few meetings recently that I've been around about the club. Do the board have an interest or plan to work closer with the community groups competing and wearing the badge to eliminate the current cash cow feeling amongst them all?
Of course, I don't really know the answer to that.
So there's obviously the meetings that certainly
I don't know the background to what you're saying.
Certainly, what I think this question's alluding to is that I was in a meeting recently it was the Black and Gold Foundation.
Oh, right, okay.
So it was the AGM. I went in to see what was going on and just to hear around about the club.
He's a fucking nosy bastard.
He's a nosy bastard, isn't he? No, again...
you're dipping your toes in everything.
I know. No, so when I was in there...
Can you do work in the bar?
If you want, aye.
Coyote Ugly.
What about technical director?
Anything you want. So when I was in there, it was a parent that raised this, and from the youth, they were there again just from interest for the Black and Gold Foundation, and they raised the fact, and I think it alluded really from was the cash cow thing came from was that it's always take. There's nothing coming back, and again this maybe isn't directed to the club, might be. In certain ways, but again I think what it was that they're paying their money in and there's no actual pathway for their kids, and that was a great, that certainly the one that I heard the cash cow mentioned get said in that occasion was that basically that they're paying the money, there's actually no structure for their kid to actually get to a certain level. It was basically you get to under 17s and see you later. That's it. There's no way going forward. I asked the question of why they didn't have the under 20s or 19s, whatever you want to, as a pathway, as a structure into the first team. And the finance figure got thrown at me. It's cost too much. Why does it cost too much? Tell me why. And again, I just got through it. So anyways, I think that what they're alluding to is a lot of people think that it's just this take, and there's no giving back. Certainly from the club, and it's maybe not just directly at the board or the club. I think it's a generalisation, because I think a lot of parents, certainly in the youth systems and that, I feel the same way, that it's just a sort of take feeling around the club.
Yeah, I don't really, I'm not really close enough, just haven't got back in to understand what the financial links are through the youths, the Black and Gold, into the club's main accounts, for instance, and how much gets charged or whatever.
Because the pitch hire will be a huge.
Aye, the pitch hire has got to be I would think the main source of transfer of money from the youth and community programmes into the club. I would expect it to be that, because obviously I was involved with the service level. Obviously people probably won't know, but I was involved with the service level agreement a way back when we first got the pitch, because we got council funding.
But it's a one-time monthly payment, I think, innit? It's been a set figure for.
I don't have that detail, but what I would say is that the pathway is, I think it's where were we? Was it last season? We played. Did we play Kilmarnock last season in the League Cup? Was that last season?
Yes, I think it was.
That was at Rugby Park,
yeah.
And I can't remember the young boys, but I know one of them was young Kane, and young Kane, I don't know what age would have been that day, maybe 17. I'm not quite sure.
He came on, didn't he?
He came on, and
Dylan
I think
Crawford was the other one.
Yeah, that was the other one, and I was sitting there in the stand, and Grant was there watching the game, and I think there was a game up at Falkirk that Kane was at as well, and Grant came up to that, and I can obviously know Grant because Grant is a youngster, obviously played with Anne, and I'm thinking, oh, this is brilliant. I felt so proud that a youngster that had been involved in the club was actually playing it against a Premier League side.
Second generation, if you like.
Yeah, it was second generation because we have that was Grant and then obviously Joe. But and I thought that was terrific. And then next thing, Kane disappears, and then you've got the likes of Charlie as well. There isn't a platform for them, and that's what's missing. It's missing in the pathway, and that platform is a way back. I remember when Rowan was involved, there was at one point you used to get £80,000 a year from the club academy, but the way the SFA went, that payment suddenly ended up with just the big teams, the SPL teams, and the full-time teams that were in the championship. So those monies way back then, they disappeared, but there still has to be a way, and there has got to be a way. If Threave Rovers and Gretna, and I'm not being disrespectful to these clubs, they're not a League One club. If these clubs can run 20s, and Annan should run 20s, 21s or 19s, whatever's right in the structure and the pathway, at 19 you should be able to play with the first team if you're good enough.
100%.
Definitely. So I didn't care if it's 19s or 21s. I'll leave that to other people to decide. But in the structure and the pathway going forward, we've got to find a way of getting these youngsters coached properly below that age.
It's key. It's key.
It's key to the future, because what you'll have guys that will go way beyond Annan, but if we've got them in the club and they go to a better platform, absolutely fine, and you don't hold them back. Come on, you went to Kilmarnock, you were a youngster, a young kid at Annan.
But the bigger picture for me certainly is that you have this right structure, you have the coaching structure in place, and you're allowing again our coaches to be developed as coaches, and again get them to a level where they're comfortable and confident, competent to coach these kids at a good level. We're competitive because that under 13s group we're looking for them to compete to get in that first team. So when they're there, and then it goes 13s,
is that Ross's group, 15, Ross Kerr's group?
17s, yeah. So again, but then you've got to have the 19s there, and again the 19s, what the 19s does is it feeds into Willie's first team.
Yeah.
And again, what that offsets is wages.
Of course it does.
You're offsetting them wages you're having to pay first team players because you've got youth team players. And the big picture for me is that one player that moves on to Kilmarnock, and you get a hit of, as you say, a compensation fee and the pride that Annan players moved on. But you need to protect the club. The club's all about needs to generate money. Yep. So the big picture for me is one player moves on, brings in a fee, a compensation fee, and we get we also get a sell-on clause. But the pride's there as well. But
yeah, definitely.
And what I would say though as well is, never forget these kids that aren't good enough. So that's my big gripe, is that if we do have a 19s, there will be, of course there will be. I've been in professional football and I've seen it. It's a ruthless industry. There's kids that aren't good enough and won't make it at Annan, but you don't just pat them off. You have a structure where, no disrespect to these clubs that haven't got mentioned either, but they're at a lower level. Your Gretnas, you then look at Locker, you look at Dalbeattie Star, you have a training match for all these kids that aren't getting kept on to continuously keep them playing football, because it's so important.
It's a duty of care, I know, isn't
absolutely.
It?
It's so important for the club to look after these kids. And I think what you'll find, Henry, as well, is if you look after these kids, they'll always come back to the club.
See, a couple of things from that, Cammy, is you mentioned there about the youngster and what he could do to the manager's budget. You don't need to spend as much, but what it does, it frees money to actually get a better player in, and that complements the budget. The other thing, I'll give you an example as well, where we were at one time, it wasn't that long ago, and I was still involved then. We used to give, at our level, we could gladly take players from Cooney the South because they'd been taught properly, and the classic one for us was Moxie. You saw what happened with Moxie. Moxie came, he got a second chance at Annan, and look at him now, he's at Portsmouth, obviously via Carlisle. So
Stockport now.
Just recently.
Did he? When did he go?
For games, just in January transfer window.
Did he go in that window? Okay, I hadn't picked up.
He's done well since he started off, actually.
So there's an example of how it can work. So even if we'd be getting players for Queens when Queens were probably a championship side, but players that would be coming out of our pathway for League One will have been properly educated and they'll be at a decent level. And
will they though?
Well, only if
they should be.
But they should be. If I'm saying in the ideal world, in the future, where they're properly coached with qualified coaches and they've got that pathway, they're young men, and then they can go and pick up in the men's game elsewhere. And it may well be that they could it could be the Lowland League, it could be below that, but the most important thing is that they're still playing football.
Absolutely.
And this isn't a hit at the coaches, because absolutely they're doing a fantastic job.
I wasn't meaning that in any way.
We're not either. Sorry,
so I'm just making it clear that I think we should be giving the coaches the
support,
opportunity.
Give them the tools.
We should be going, by the way, this is a pathway. We'll give you the tools, as you say. We'll pay the finances. We'll get you up to, where do you want to go? Do you want to get that C licence, that B licence? We'll take you on that journey, and we'll support you there. So that's the big thing, is that I think the drive needs to be there from internally, and that's why I genuinely still think that the youths need a head of youths, because he drives that. He helps his coaches. He educates them. He's their boss and their mentor. So that it's really, really important that the structure's right.
So on that thing with the structure going forward, it sits with finances. So that's where in phase 2 we've got to generate the funds to allow these programmes to take place, because in the bigger picture of the club, we've got to have that, and it's absolutely key. And at the end of the day, it always will come down to finance, and with that finance you can make the commitment.
Yep.
What else does it bring though? See if you've got lads coming up from the 17s,
people
to watch,
coming to watch.
They're relate to these
their
boys,
mates
their
come
mates,
to watch.
their families,
their mates, their families. Yeah,
people back, boys that play from their local area.
100%.
It's fact. See, on Saturday we had 4 local lads from D&G, not with the Carlisle, take the lads over there. 4 lads from D&G in the starting team, and 7 in the squad.
Aye.
No.
Yeah.
You're not telling me we've not got the boys here in the area, in the Annan, that we are coaching, bringing through 300 every 10 year. So, we fucking falling so short?
Why we're not getting that success?
Exactly.
Why we're not getting that success rate? We should. Yeah.
That's
But it's a great topic, and it's one that really needs resolved. And we need to get that on the programme, and the Football Operations Directorate's responsibility.
And it's an interesting one as well, though. We speak about ex-players. Your 19s, your 20s. I'm pretty sure there'll be some keen ex-players of Annan who are interested in coaching, who are looking for an opportunity,
at that level,
who would be great to have back in the club and about the club. So
we better not
again,
mention names,
they're
but geez,
options,
they're there, aren't they?
They're there, and again, you know what you're going to get through
and
these
you
guys.
imagine what they could deliver.
Totally.
Wow, they're there.
true.
It's
and this takes, and again, this is not just because we're part of this. It takes away the parent responsibility. We do it because we want to do it. However, you're a parent. If you don't do it, who's going to coach the kids?
It doesn't happen, and that's where the structure has to come in.
Yeah, and it's a good, really good.
Of course, I didn't expect we were talking youth football tonight, but anyway.
Ped's next one. Well, I think we're on to extra questions, Pedro. You've lost. Extra.
Everybody will be switching off. We knew they'll be bored.
Oh, we're on.
We had no account to start with.
Yeah. Can you read it?
Yeah, sorry. I think we've touched on
Have
that
we?
top one.
Miss it then? Go for our next one.
So, which I don't want to talk about, however, could relegation be a double-edged sword? I.e., possibly lower expenses but also much lower income. Are we punching above our weight even being in League 2? I strongly disagree. It's not disagree because nobody's asking a question, but I firmly believe that I don't think it gets any better if we go down. I'm not saying, but I think we should be starting to fight our corner a bit more in League 1.
Yeah,
I think we're good enough to be at that.
I know my position on this 100%. We're playing at the highest level we've ever played at, and to take the club forward, it is far better taking it forward from a position of League One and to get our sustainability than being in a dogfight in League Two. You saw what happened with Brecon City. I'll use that example all day long to everybody I speak about. They were a championship side and they're now playing in the Highland League.
Is that four? Well, 3 relegations in a row,
They went all the way down. Look at the Lowland League. You've got the 5 teams in there that are ex-SFL. When we joined, 5 of those teams were beside us. They're in the Lowland League and there's no sign of them coming back. So what we've got to do is we've got to everything we can to stay up this season. I believe 100% we'll stay up, even if we did finish ninth, which I don't believe we will. I think we'll pull it back. I think there's a dogfight between us, Kelty, and Montrose. I totally believe Inverness will go past us. But for a position of growing the club and taking it where we need to be, we need to be on this platform of League One football. And I think if we end up in League Two, just see Stranraer, see Forfar, and these clubs are well-run clubs at that level. And what's sitting underneath? Caledonia, Braves, East Kilbride, and there's only more sitting below them. You see the Clyde Bank in the league below that. For the next 10, 15 years, there's going to be a whole lot of levelling out in the game, and we've got to make sure that where we are, we keep ourselves in this highest level of part-time teams. Can we do what Arbroath done? I don't know. Why shouldn't we have that as our mission? Arbroath got up into the Championship and almost made it to the Premier League. Why should we not be thinking that way? I hate and absolutely detest that people go on about Wee Annan. We aren't Wee Annan. We're Annan Athletic and we play in League One in the Scottish SPFL. I was going to say SFL, but the SPFL, and we are in the top 5 part-time teams in Scotland, and we have got to use that as a platform and go there and beyond. And no way do I entertain this League Two. It's not a position of strength, it's a position of weakness, and I'll tell you, it's awfully easy to slide through that trapdoor, because in the playoff, those teams that are coming up are working on incredible budgets. Caledonian Braves, on a name, have raised £2.3 million in 18 to 24 months, just based on a name, Caledonian Braves. Just wait to see what we can do.
There you go, like that, like it.
Horny as fuck after hearing that.
Good answer though, Henry. Really good. Next question. First impressions are always important in any business. When you arrive at Annan, you're met with broken rough cast all over the entrance. This is a different question. Entrance wall, run-down porta cabins with metal sheets on the roofs, cables running across their heads. Is the fabric and look of the stadium important to the board, as this has been in this state for a while? Will there ever be anything done to make Annan look like a great club from walking in the door, from first impressions?
Well, you'll see one of the directorates is facilities management, so that director will have that responsibility for the upkeep of the ground and the presentation. That wall on the outside, it's been like that for too long. I think Sammy once had a go at that, so it shows you how long ago it was. But no, the first impressions are important, and again, when the finances have been so tight, I can understand why that hasn't been addressed. But we're trying to address the financial situation, and again, the facilities director, he'll have that within his remit, and I can see for those projects that we've got there, it's no wish list. We'll end up doing a good number of these. There's no time limit on them, but the state of the ground's one of them that we'll have to improve as we bring all these other projects online.
The thing is, if we don't do the wee jobs, it become big jobs, don't they? So,
and I think it's the small jobs that can make a difference. Again, if that wall is rough casted or looked after a little bit better,
I think the something's in the pipeline for that, innit? I think there's something in the pipeline for that.
Yeah, there is.
And again, the porta cabins, yes, they're functional at this moment in time. They're not ideal, because certainly been in the physio one recently to interview Tommy Goss, it's a little bit worse for wear. But again, it's something that, as you say, maybe the facilities manager is set a project over a period of time to try and find something different. There is that, and I
think as well, I was hearing some feedback from it might have been the Black and Gold meeting, that there's some developments going to happen up the top, maybe look at some funding there. Yep. So I don't know the full details of that, but if there is anything like that, it's a positive step forward. And I said earlier that as each of the directorates make small steps, collectively across the board they become bigger steps. And if you grow over a long period of time in small steps, it's really difficult to go all the way down in one. So as you build incrementally for the future, it's far easier to make it sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, good. Last actual question on this, before we get to some personal questions, which you'll enjoy a little bit more maybe.
I'm okay with these.
I'm a current shareholder. Firstly, the Clubhouse. No regular opening times when it's open. Bar shuts. Bar seems to shut when bar staff want it to.
How can you not read your own writing?
I can't read this. I've not read this before.
I thought it was you, Pete.
I can't read. This is an income generator not being operated to its true potential. Will the board change this and all that?
Alright, Bobby Boucher, do you want me to take over?
Take over. I'm all over the place.
I'm a current shareholder. Firstly, the Clubhouse.
Oh, you are as well.
Oh, yeah. Go on then.
No regular opening times. When is it open? Bar shuts when it seems bar staff want to shut it. This is an income generator not being operated to its full potential. Will the board change this and all internal facilities to make money for the club, i.e. club shop, food stalls, bar, so that the club make as big a revenue as possible throughout these areas?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I can tell you right now the response.
Glad P got it out there.
Yeah, it's what's in that cup, Pammy. You should stick with what I'm on the water. Aye, no, seriously, going forward, that's going to be the responsibility of the Clubhouse operations, and again, that's why Ian's on board, Ian McClatchy, and he'll pick up the cudgel on this. It's got to change. It can't carry on the way it is. But I know the club's suffering like a lot of other establishments following COVID, and everybody uses that as an excuse. That COVID, when did that finish? 2-3 years ago. That excuse doesn't hold water anymore. But that's Ian's remit, and he'll pick that up.
Good. No, and in no better man, he's well versed in it, isn't he? He's well experienced in
and
hospitality.
Yeah, no, I think the club's always been a vibrant place to go, and again, we've all certainly I've had parties there.
Yeah.
You've had parties
engagement
there, and
parties and stuff.
And it's it just feels as if it's lost its love a little bit from everyone. Because again, it's probably one of the biggest days, 2nd of January, which is everyone knows
historically it was a huge day,
this area. It's a big day, and it's again it's struggled to generate the interest, but again you just want it to get back to what it can be, because it is a central hub. I feel like, again, from during the day there could be clubs in there could be funerals in there could be all sorts to generate the club money, and I think I'm pretty sure that's what you're kind of alluding on to,
exactly.
that they will be looked at.
Yeah, that's right, and we've got to be able to use the bit through the day. I know we were at a funeral there last year when it was Philip's sister. We had the funeral tea there for Carlin, and it's things like that. But there's loads of other uses it could be. We've got the new green park opening up at Chapel Cross, the Green Energy Park. There's hardly any there's no conference facilities in the town, and a vision I had a long time ago was to do something with the club. I've still got the drawings. I've got the drawings on my computer that gave conference facilities, a few offices, and it would be multi-use through the week. It would be used for businesses, revenue earner. Then come the Saturday, everything comes back to the big day, because what we're there for is putting on a football match on a Saturday. But as it stands just now, it's not being utilised the way it should. So that's part of what I'm looking at business development as well, and they're the challenges that will set me in my team.
Do you know what I think? See, when they took the alcoves out of the
it's like going to school dinners.
It broke my heart that day.
I love the alcoves.
I can.
A wee story on the alcoves, Pete, when they first come in.
Is it a clean story?
No, it's a clean story. It goes away. No, I can't dirty it up in any way, but in the alcoves, and before we built the social club, we used to go down to the Berry or the Bell, because there wasn't anything at Galabank, and obviously the dance hall was what we built first, and the bar, we used to be volunteers in there, and then we started paying the employees, and I can remember it was after a game, and we're in the alcove, and everybody was in this alcove, the whole team, Sammy, myself, and I went to the bar, and I come back with something like, I think it was 15 pints of wine. And we're sitting in the alcove drinking pints of wine. But gosh, we had many happy times in there, and you'd see the parties. I can't mind the number that we used to. Was it something like 140 or 150? It was a stupid number. They'd be like 250 rammed. Especially the 2nd of January. You all had parties there.
To get an alcohol. It was mental, wasn't it? Who you wanted to sit with.
Again, that was a different time, a different era. And,
but still, you can get back to
the Anglers gets packed. I don't know the last time I was out, but when I was, the Anglers was heaving.
Right. No, I think it's having certain events. Obviously, we held the event for our live at the club, and it felt really buzzing, and there was a lot of people there.
A leaf like Gretna have things on
it. Singer, absolutely.
Stuff like Ken, it's just
you just start to build it up, and again, I'm sure Scratcher will do that. He'll start to build it up, and he'll work with the team on the bar, and we'll get there.
Great,
good.
Have to.
Yes. Right, good. So that's Club Matters over. On to personal questions.
Oh, Jesus.
No, nice and easy.
I wonder what's coming.
Nice and easy, Henry. Who was the best signing you brought or helped to bring to the club, and who do you wish you could have got?
Oh, God, right. The best signing. There's a number of players. Moxie, definitely. Moxie just proved he was incredible, his worth, and definitely involved in that. Stephen Swinglehurst was involved in signing Stephen after we got him on loan. Spoonsy, God, even Big Sean, getting Sean O'Connor when he came.
He was.
I can just remember Belly would play up front, and there was a game we played at Forfar, and just having Sean O'Connor aside him, Belly was a different player. He was just amazing. Then who else did we have? Neil McFarlane, Degsy, Neil McFarlane, Degsy, Kenny Arthur, Harty. These are all players that were
good
amazing.
level. All played at a top level.
But one that I always loved signing every year was Jardy. we'd have this thing. I think once one of the signings, he needed tickets for tea in the park. I don't know how I managed to get him, but I got him tickets for tea in the park. And another one was...
That was a deal breaker?
Oh, that was the deal breaker, And then Europa Cup final. Jardy, if I get you a ticket for that, will he sign? Oh, I will, Chairman. So we got... Jardy was another, but Andy Mitchell.
Irish Andy.
Again, that was another really... deal we had to work at, and we had some, extra work to get him involved, and it meant getting his girlfriend employment and finding him digs, and we actually got a sponsor that I'm not going to say names, it wouldn't be fair, but we got a sponsor that managed to give them digs. So they were the kind of things we had to work out the box. Gilly, when Gilly came back for Australia, there were clubs offering much more money than us, and one of the things we really were good at was being inventive, and I spoke to Scott at LIP, and he took Gilly on as a labourer, and then what happened with Gilly after that, he came to you and you ditched him, and no, but seriously, that's what we had to do, and things like that.
Any that you missed out on that you wish you
slipped through the fingers?
Oh, there was one that we had him signed, we had the paperwork done. It was Big Jim for the Queens.
Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
He came in training.
He did come in training. We had him signed, and
what happened then?
Davy Ray pulled the plug on it. He said, if you go to Annan, your job here through the day at Queens finishes.
That was when he was doing the commercial stuff
over
there.
Yeah, it was the commercial stuff, and Davy said it was a conflict of interest, and he pulled him. And another one that we missed out on, and that was probably my fault, was Gav Riley.
Right, okay.
And we were offered Gav for Queens.
Right.
And this was Davy. I didn't care. Davy, you stitched us up with Jim Thompson, so I'm going to stitch you up with Gav Riley. But anyway, no, what had happened, we were offered Gav, and the deal was £100 a week. Let's say it was £100 a week, and I said we're only paying 50% of his wages.
Yep.
So I only went to 50, and we were offered him, but Davy said it's £100 or nothing, so we never got Gav either.
And that was it?
That was it. And then after that, Gav went on to some great stuff. And I'll tell you what, it's one player that went to Annan Academy of Gretna Boy, and I just wish that Gavin had the opportunity to put on the Annan shirt. I would have liked him in that
Still
role.
Time, Henry?
Oh, no, he still scores against
Still
us almost
time.
every game. He can, I never ever thought that we'd be playing in the same league as Queens, and we've held our own against them. And but Gavin comes up and scores last year, and then he's done it with Arbroath. But no, I really would have liked Gavin to have been part of Annan. I think he'd been a great player for us. He would have been a legend.
I would.
He would have been.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And in fact, I'd like to drink after the game. And we seeing him down the street, no rubbing it in that he scored against us.
Peds, next one.
Oh my! All right.
Yeah, on you go.
In all your years with Athletic, what is your best memories of the club?
Easy, absolutely easy. Beating Rangers at Ibrox. Obviously, I said earlier as being involved in Rangers Supporters Club way back in the early 70s, 74, whatever it was. But that day we beat Rangers at Ibrox. It was Annan's best ever victory, and I remember sitting in the director's box after the game. The ground was empty and the press were all interviewing us and asking what it felt like, and it felt so surreal that I'm thinking, this isn't right. Annan shouldn't be beating Rangers. It just shouldn't happen. All I ever dreamed about as being involved with Annan was getting a game against Rangers in the Cup, and the fact that we ended up playing them in the league, and that was just something else. But I remember then, and I still feel the same way now, myself, like everybody else, were all volunteers, and that day at Ibrox, I had this feeling that it doesn't matter whatever happens in the rest of my life involved with football, this can never be taken away from me, because this is my reward. And that day I got my reward when Annan beat Rangers, and I never ever wanted anything else out of football other than playing Rangers at Ibrox. And I got my reward that day, and it didn't matter. I've never wanted anything. You can't put a price on that. And as a volunteer, that was great. It was brilliant.
Might happen again, Henry. You never know.
Beating them again.
Listen.
Playing them would do.
Well, the way they're going, I'd love to have got them in the Scottish Cup this year, and Annan would be in a better position.
Aye.
Anyway.
You never know. Yes, great memories back in that day. What's your favourite ground you like travelling to for away games?
Oh, jeez. Right.
That's a good question, that.
That's a great question, because when we joined the SFL back in 2008, this was way before the drink laws came into place. And one of our first away games was Forfar. I can remember. I fell off the bus when it got back to Calabank and fell into Brian's Hedge right opposite the ground. Oh, that hospitality there was unreal. Davy McGregor and the guys, and that was amazing. I did like that. I've always got a fond memory of that. But the first ever game we played was in the old Challenge Cup, the Okie Dokie Cup, and we played Clyde, and they invited all the wives and partners of the board to the game, and they gave us a meal. So I had fond memories of that. But as over the years, I absolutely hated and detested going to that ground. I did not like the horrible way that a lot of those fans actually acted towards the opposition. So I didn't like that. But Elgin was another one. Tatters and them, Montrose, Arbroath.
So a lot of good.
It's hard to pick, because all these clubs were at the same sort of level, but they still had the camaraderie, and everybody knew what each other was up against and the struggles. So we all had that, and a lot of new clubs are on the scene now. The one that was just kind of unique was Clifton Hill.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you you were there, obviously, Pete. But
I've played there as well.
It was different, but they were great folk and all. Yeah, aye. Oh, I'm sitting smiling here. It was everywhere.
A lot of good people in Scottish football, and
definitely.
you meet.
And a lot of them just in it for the love of it.
Yeah.
They love their clubs, just like I love my club, and we all love our clubs. But that was the passion that was there, and the commitment was you done it because you loved it and you wanted to do it.
Good. Brilliant. Great.
Go on.
If you had 5 players to bring back to play for Annan Athletic now, who would they be?
5.
That's a difficult one. You've only got 5. Listen,
right. Colin Williamson.
Right, okay.
Straight away, Colin Williamson. He would be the best player I've ever seen at Annan.
Right, okay.
Okay, I'll go with him. I'll go with Moxie.
Yep.
2. Spoons. 3. Jeez, I wish we had Degsy when he was in his prime.
I know.
You're always going to forget somebody, so don't worry about it.
I'm not going to forget people. Jardy would always be in my 11 anyway.
Yeah.
Jardy would always be in my 11, definitely the skip. So there's 4. Who's my 5? Who would my 5th one be? Buzz Bomb.
Who?
Willie Smith.
Willie Smith?
I was speaking to Stevie Ferguson about him last night. He used to play with Anna when he was young.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
Oh,
so that's how Stevie will know him.
Willie Smith, explain it. I don't know anything about him.
Still goes to games.
He goes to all the home games. He sits next to James, but again, Bish was another good player up front.
What position?
Willie just played up top, left side, winger, but Willie was such a...
What era was that, Henry, then?
That was a way back in the 80s.
Right, okay.
Yeah, Willie would have played through the 70s and 80s.
Right.
Yeah, he's retired.
Top player?
Oh, Willie was a great player. He got a lot of red cards.
Right, okay.
But he fought for the badge. Willie. I liked Willie. A wee story about Willie. We played Stranraer. Mind that game you mentioned earlier when we played Stranraer in the Cup. And we trained at Annan on the Tuesday and the Thursday nights. And it had been absolutely pouring down. And we trained the Hindu goals on the bottom end where the clubhouse is. And it was like a quagmire. So Border Telly came on the Thursday night to do the filming, because this was a big game. It was Annan's first Scottish Cup tie. And the guys interviewing Willie, because Willie was one of our star players, and the reporter saying, how do you think the game will go tomorrow? And Willie's looking at him, and Willie's thinking, what's going on? No, the game's not in the morning, it's on Saturday. Well, you get interviewed on the Thursday night because it goes out on the Friday. And he asks Willie again, how do you think the game will go tomorrow? And Willie's looking at me and going like, this is the off his head, and then Willie then actually sussed it. Okay, this is going out tomorrow night. And he goes, it'll be a game of 2 halves. And the reporter looks at him and goes, how do you mean? The first and the second? That was his TV interview. And that happened. That was real. And that was our build up to the Stranraer game that we got beat 3-1.
Class.
But see Willie, you go to games with Willie and he can talk about players and football, and it goes way back, and it goes back to the times way back then when Ginger and all the guys were playing, and he's got such a memory and knowledge about the game, and it goes right up to modern day and where players that are playing against, who he used to play with, whatever. I could sit and talk and listen to him for ages.
Good. Some good players in there.
Oh, aye.
Yes.
Excellent.
Great. Do we have any more questions, Pete, or is that the...
No, I mean, no,
finale?
I think that was it, mate. Aye. Like I said, a massive thank you to Chunky, because I think that... Oh, so nothing... We know nothing's directed at you personally, Chunky. That's the point. People care. People want to know. If they weren't asking about what was going on...
There'd be a worry then, There would be worry, because again, nobody's interested in the club.
No, I came along the right, and... I've been in it long enough and I'm old enough now that I could pretty much take any question, but I just hope that people have got a better insight, because there were some questions in there that people want to know, and even can write back to that one of those first questions regarding the war chest. So it is important, and I think going forward, one of the things that we've got to do is we didn't wait for AGMs. We've got to have something where maybe every 3 months we actually meet the shareholders and have a Q&A. That's important. If we're wanting involvement and participation, we want people to come on board and invest in us. It's a two-way thing, and it's got to work that way. And I really do hope that folks see what we're trying to do with the structure, and what we're trying to do is get us in a sustainable and far better platform. And I really appreciate being on and just letting me speak honestly and frankly.
Because the last thing, again, that people want to feel used in it, or to feel like all they're doing is getting drained. Yeah, I've seen a kind of list on social media saying Willie's war chest, Big Tommy's operation, blah blah blah. Yeah. The list was quite extensive, and it's true. Again, you don't want to feel like we're giving. You're like, this is, I think, what you want to pull there. This is the point. We want to make it sustainable. So once this comes in from whatever resource we can, pull it together, it'll grow from there.
Yes.
So you're looking for time.
And it's for the small acorns you grow oak trees, it's that kind of thing. But we're at a point where we need help, we need people on board, we need the support. And we're at the point now that, yeah, let's make this fan-owned club work. But we can only do that together, and it's a lot of the things that we've spoke about. We have to look at the youth football, the community football, but we've got to get our finances right and get a stable platform. And it'll not be through lack of effort. And just hope everybody comes on board and comes with us, and let's see where this goes, because it could go anywhere.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
No, good.
Happy.
Yes, all good. No, I really enjoyed that. And again, Henry, thanks again for joining us, because it's always difficult conversations, opinionated subjects, but again, I think your open and honesty and being able to answer a number of the questions for the fans is really important. It's great for us to be able to put that platform on for you to do so. We do really appreciate it. Pedro, enjoy it?
Absolutely. Just to reiterate that the business plan and the prospectus you've got there, Henry, it's all online. It's all available, isn't it?
Yep.
Shareholders should have got an email with these attached, but if not, they are online, available for people at their perusal to look over and digest it in their own time. Because, like I said, everything we spoke about, and there's a beefy document, isn't it? It's put together well. So, although I mentioned it that I didn't feel it was that worded that well, the initial statement when it came out, Henry's clarified a lot of points that were questioned about it, and I think it's good. I think it's good. So, like I say, that's the point. It's available for people to
view,
look
to
at,
see. Yep.
Make up their own mind. If it's something they want to do, brilliant.
Yeah,
if not,
if they can, come on board and help.
Absolutely, and that is the message from the club. They want the help. You've heard it here. First and foremost, we've questioned you about potential blockages in the past, but again, you guys are open to help, and hopefully fans will get on board with that and support the club, because it's so important. So yeah, no, great. A massive thanks to Anne Fleck board member Henry McClelland for joining us on this episode of the Black and Gold podcast. A big thanks from me and Pete for watching and listening to the Black and Gold podcast. Please keep sharing, subscribing to our YouTube channel. Like, share, follow this episode, because it's a great episode for everyone to watch, and all the Annan fans out there. And until the next time, it's see you from now.